Welcome to The Growth Show with Matt Lenzie, where we discuss growth strategies both for business and a personal perspective, discussing all kinds of businesses, growth strategies, technology, investment strategy, and much more. We are meeting with entrepreneurs, investors, app developers, and property developers. Our vision is to help 10,000 business owners grow their businesses. Introducing our host, Matt Lenzie. Matt is a former banker and corporate financier. He now spends his time building his own companies organically and through acquisition, as well as raising capital for other businesses. Matt works with a wide variety of entrepreneurs and investors.
Good morning and welcome to The Growth Show. Today's guest is none other than a former world champion boxer, Mr. Billy Schwer. How are you, Billy?
Get ready to rumble. Here we go. Great to see you, my friend.
I'm glad that I'm hiding behind the screen here and not having to take one of those.
I hope you brought your A game with you.
Me too. Well, it's nice to see you, and we'll refer to this one as the lost tapes, as you and I know. We had a bit of a technical problem, and we did record
the rematch.
Exactly. Yeah. So we did record this previously, so we're going through some old ground. However, as I said at the time, the inspiration and the buzz that I felt after our recording was very good. So I'm very, very happy and pleased to do this one again. So first things first, what I like to do with the guests that I have on the Growth Show is understand a little bit of narrative about their respective backgrounds and how they got to where they are today. And I know from your book, which is called Man Up, which you very kindly sent me a copy of, and I've been reading. There was some challenges along the way in terms of your life and where you've got to so far. It'd be really interesting just to touch on, that kind of journey, through to becoming the world champ, and then some of the heartbreak that you suffered after that. Is that's probably fair to say?
Oh, the devastation, the chaos, the upsets, the disappointment. Yes, the good times, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And it all makes you who you are today, right?
Absolutely, and that's exactly right. And here I am today with you, Matt. We're going to take number 2. This is going to be much, much better than the first time round. So let's cause some magic.
and hopefully inspire some people that are, feeling the effects of, we're in quite a difficult time from a psychological perspective. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty around, where we're heading. The vaccine does appear to be doing the trick. So hopefully that may continue. We're not going to get into, views on these things, but, fundamentally we want people to be inspired, taking that action and moving forwards with the things that they do with their lives. So, but first things first, over to you to provide a bit of narrative in terms of who you are and what you're about, I suppose.
And that's such a great point, because I really want to touch on that stuff about how we get through the tough times. But let's go back to how Billy the boxer got created. So I started boxing when I was 8 years of age. So my fascination with people and about what they do and how they do it and why are some people more successful than others, I've always had that fascination in the background for me. So I used to step into the ring as a professional boxer prepared to die. My life was like kill or be killed. It was like, that's my existence. That, that killer instinct, that some fighters possess it, some people possess it more than others. What's that about? Where does it come from? How do I have that? And why do some people not have that? It just fascinates me. So I went on a journey to really discover. This was after I retired from boxing. So I did my boxing career, then it finished, and then I went on a bit of a journey, which we'll get to later. But I really discovered, so Billy the Boxer got created when I was 5 years of age.
Right.
I was in my mum and dad's front room with my 2 older sisters, Mandy and Lisa, and we're rolling around the floor and they're beating me up again, kids being kids. Now, you know when it's 2 against 1, two kids against 1, what do? They pin them to the floor, don't they? We've all done it. One sits on the chest and one pins the arms back. So they was doing that to me. So I'm kicking and screaming and fighting. I just couldn't fight them off. So I used to get so upset. I used to hyperventilate and turn blue. I thought I was going to die. I couldn't breathe. I was like, oh. And what they used to do, they both had beautiful long blonde hair. As I'm pinned to the floor, they used to wave their hair in my face. There's an old classic song by the band Paper Lace, and it's called Billy, Don't Be a Hero. And they used to sing that to me. Billy, don't be a hero. Don't be a fool with your life. So what did I end up doing? My whole life is about becoming a hero. And don't be a fool with your life. And I've kind of pretty much done that as well. So in that moment, I made the decision. I decided that no one was ever going to beat me, dominate me, hurt me, get on top of me ever again. Right. Especially women. I made an unconscious decision. Ask my ex-wife, she'll tell you. And it was like unconsciously, I made another decision that I was weak. So I had to find a way to prove, to cover up and survive being weak. That's why I became a boxer. Right. So my dad was a boxer. So I remember as a child seeing his old black and white boxing pictures in the loft, his old boxing boots, his old horsehair boxing gloves, like the old leather ones in them. But I didn't really take much notice. But then at 8 years of age, I asked my dad to take me down to the gym and teach me boxing, which is what he did. So he was my coach, and he taught me how to box right all the way through my amateur career. Right. So then that was my access to proving something. So all my life I've been trying to prove that I'm good enough and I'm not weak. Yeah. So those decisions that decision I made as a 5-year-old, then as an 11-year-old, I made another decision that I wasn't good enough when I lost my 3rd amateur boxing fight. So those decisions shaped my future, and that's what I lived into. I had to find a way to cover up and prove that I wasn't. So what I've discovered is about some things happen in our lives as children. We make decisions about ourselves, about people, about life, and then we may unconsciously choose to become a certain way to cover up and deal with it. So those decisions I made, I was weak and I wasn't good enough. So what I did was I become really tough. I become really courageous and really persistent to cover up and hide being weak. Right. So that shaped my future. So I think for us all to really look at, as I share that, what are you covering up, I wonder? What are you trying to hide, survive? Because we've all got kind of, I call it like a winning formula, a winning combination. Those things have us win in life. So my winning combinations, I'm tough, I'm persistent, I'm courageous. That's what has me win in life. Yeah. Win or lose, you get to choose. But also those nice traits that I could quite honestly be proud of, what comes with them, those are ugly ones. So they show up. But what also had me become a champion boxer, what had me had that killer instinct were these traits. I was aggressive. I was domineering. I was selfish. I was inconsiderate. I was always right. I was like, rah, rah. That's who I was. So those traits, so win or lose, you choose. But unconsciously, those ugly traits that we all have, that when we get triggered, they show up. Lots of us are just unconscious. We just get triggered and we unconsciously go into, then we just kick off. So those served Billy the Boxer. Those traits, aggressive, domineering, selfish, those worked, and it was kind of acceptable that's just the way that it is, because I stepped up into the ring prepared to die. So I sacrificed everything to train to be in the best way that I could be. So when I stepped up into the ring, I was fighting for my life. So I kind of sacrificed everything else to survive life. And then that's the part that lots of us, when you start to see those traits that are kind of unconsciously running us, then you get to distinguish things. Once you distinguish something, then you can kind of it takes its power off you. Because I was being used by aggressive, domineering, selfish, all those attributes, but they're not really, they served Billy the Boxer, but they didn't serve Billy. And when I retired from boxing, when I went through my dark times, depression, divorce, bankruptcy, when I retired from boxing, I realized that Billy the Boxer was no longer serving Billy.
Right.
That's when I realized I needed to make some changes. So if things are not working in your life, in whatever area, you need to, what I realized was all the areas of my life that wasn't working, there was one consistent thing running through it. There was a theme. And the theme was, it was me. Right. I was consistently there in all the things that I was messing up in. So I kind of realized, it's kind of, oh, I might have something to do with it then. So I held my hands up and went, okay, let's get responsible then. Because I was unconscious. I was being irresponsible. I wasn't aware of it. So I woke up. But what had me wake up was a lot of pain and suffering. So then that was my entry into my new second phase of my life.
Interesting. So in terms of I guess lots of sports people, musicians, and other people that kind of have that idolization from their fans, lots of them suffer from that, that thing of, the proverbial music has stopped or the crowds have stopped cheering. It's how you deal with that, because it's a hugely difficult thing, because you've got this persona, this narrative that you've built for yourself about, I am this, super strong guy. I'm the world champion, in your instance, or, your best-selling artist or whatever it might be. But then there's that kind of realization when you're home by yourself in lockdown, as we are at the moment, and that's I mean, fortunately it's brightening up now, but in a cold, dark winter, that's when these things can become quite difficult to deal with. And there's a real problem, in my opinion, in what you've talked about there. It takes a lot of courage to talk about these things, because as men, we're inherently shielding our emotional sides. That's kind of the way, be a man and cover it all up. That's kind of how you're trained to be. But what you're talking about there is you've understood it, you've addressed it, and I like the way I talk about myself is I'm working on myself. And we all have attributes that sometimes come out and go backwards and forwards. But so how did you come around to being able to kind of deal with these things, and more importantly, how are you talking about them today? Because lots of people can't talk about that stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So when I retired from boxing, that's 20 years ago.
Right.
So I went through a mental breakdown, depression, and you talk about dark nights, so dark nights of the soul. So I suffered through a very painful period of my life, and it was the worst 2 years of my retirement. And you mentioned musicians and people like that, and there's a lot of similarities, like footballers, rugby players. We kind of go on a different path, but boxing's slightly different, because a musician can play music all his life.
Sure.
When you play football, when you retire from top level football, you can play lower league. But with boxing, it's kind of more or less over.
Well, you can't really play at that, can you?
No, that's the thing. You don't play boxing. You play football, you play rugby, you play golf. You don't play boxing. Yeah. You would step up into the ring to cause bodily damage. Yeah. So then you live a certain way and you think a certain way, and it has you be a certain way. So then once that's gone, where you express that, where that needs to be focused into something, you don't know. I didn't know what to do with it, because I've been trained as an amateur. You mentioned about, as an 8-year-old kid, my training and my conditioning was to fight, defend, resist, confront, and attack. And that's who Billy the Boxer was. But then that didn't serve Billy in life much later. So I kind of suffered my way, because I didn't know how to be any other way. And it was some mental health, as I mentioned, wasn't openly talked about like it is today. And I kind of made a complete mess of it, because I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed. I felt like a failure. And I was trying to fight my way through it, but it just didn't work. So eventually I kind of hit rock bottom. And then it was that point. I mean, there were times when I just didn't want to be here. I had no energy to get out of bed. I have suicidal thoughts. It's kind of in that depths of despair. So then to get myself out of there, well, it took work. It took, first and foremost, as you say, it takes courage to hold your hands up and go, this ain't working. I need to do something else. So then I went on a journey of self-discovery because I wanted to get out of where I was at, because I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was in the depths of it, struggling through it. And then, it takes courage to go to work on yourself and dismantle yourself. Look at who you are. That's the work. I've done a lot of inner work. I peel back all the layers of my identity, my ego, to discover Billy, because I want to be free, because Billy the Boxer was like a constraint. It was constraining me. It was pulling me down. It wasn't serving me. Now that's still in me. It's still, Billy the Boxer still exists within me, but it doesn't show up very often. It doesn't need to.
Sure.
So I'm no longer fighting physically for my life, so to speak.
Yeah. Particularly now the pubs are shut.
Exactly. I could have been a doorman. I'd have been a good doorman, but I didn't fancy that.
No. Probably. Well, and in fact, what you've done, you've gone on to create yourself as a coach, as a speaker, and all this kind of stuff. And that's as I mentioned to you before, you can feel the energy that you reverberate. And I know that you, on your LinkedIn profile, you have. Yeah, you have your, what was it, Wednesday wallops and the Thursday, whatever they're called. You have a name for each day, but each day there's a bit of motivation just to get people pumped up and to get on with themselves. And I think, they're really good. I enjoy them.
Jab and move Monday.
Yeah.
Toe to toe Tuesday, the Wednesday wallop, pumping Thursday, fearless Friday, suck it up Saturday, and take a seat Sunday. And it is really, it's an opportunity, obviously, to get into people's hearts and their minds.
Yeah.
Because my life mission now is the transformation of the middle-aged man. So a lot of middle-aged men are suffering, they're stuck. So that's my mission. I'm out to rock the world and cause a phenomenon through the transformation of the middle-aged man. So that's what I'm up to. And that's my day-to-day kind of experience of life. I'm having loads of amazing conversations with middle-aged men. It's brilliant. And the program that I've created, it brings people together, creates a safe environment, a safe space for them to show up in, because there's lots of men don't have an opportunity to speak, to share themselves, because they've never shared themselves before. And you said it. We're not trained that way, are we? As men, most of us are not. We struggle, especially if we're middle-aged men. It's just not. It's not kind of normal to show your vulnerability, because that was mine. Because to be vulnerable, that's a sign of weakness. Now, as a boxer, you can't show any weakness, so you can't learn how to wear a kind of suit. You wear a survival suit, which is you can't get in there.
Yeah.
Which serves in certain areas, but not everywhere. But unless you know how to dismantle it and take it off every now and then, it's difficult to be any other way. And that's a lot of men struggle with that. So giving people an access to just really being themselves, their true selves. Yeah. Then their futures look different. Yeah. And they are different. They transform themselves. And I find that so exciting, because then the results that they cause for themselves and their lives and their families, the ripple effect is huge. It's life changing for lots of the guys that we work with. It's brilliant. I love it. It's fantastic.
Very, very rewarding. And I guess that's kind of almost the kind of antithesis of, the selfish role that you kind of have to play to be a world champion boxer. It's got to be all about you. It can't be about anybody else, because if you're not in that headspace and you're not dedicating to yourself, you've got to be selfish in terms of your time, in terms of the dedication and the commitment to the training. I'm really interested in that side of it as well. It must be really hard. So yeah, to then you completely switched it around, and to be giving people kind of guidance back. That's quite a strong message, isn't it? It's nice.
No, because you're right, because it's a really tough existence, and it's all about me. And there's a lot of responsibility to go with being a professional athlete, because you're contracted to go and perform on a certain day. There's fans, there's management, there's contractual obligations. So there's that pressure. Yeah. And there's the pressure of especially being a boxer, the pressure of fighting for your life. That's the way that I looked at it.
Yeah.
So then, it's a hard existence. So that was all about me. But then when I retired from boxing, all about me just wasn't fulfilling. So then I went through my depression. So I had no future because I couldn't see a future for myself outside of the boxing ring.
Yeah.
It was kind of, I was living into an abyss of darkness. So that just fed back to me in the moment and had me feel depressed. So what I've now done is I'm very big into about the future. We've got to deal with our day-to-day existence. We've got to get through. We've got to do our stuff, whatever that may be. But then also it's about keeping an eye on the future prize. Because what I found for myself is creating a future, generating and causing a future, which is your design, by your design, this is it.
Yeah.
That's going to feed back to you in the present moment and have you feel a certain way. So
Yeah.
when I was living into dark depression, blackness, that's what had me feel that way.
Yeah.
So now I've done a lot of healing for myself as well, because I meditate most days. I'm into breath work. I'm into exercise. I'm very much mindful of my physical well-being as well as my spiritual and my mental well-being. Because I never used to like myself, because there was, as an element of a fighter going in the ring to do what I do, there's a bit of that's not really doesn't sit well. So then, but that you just carry on because you don't, that's just what you got to do. That's who you are. So then afterwards, wrecking my marriage, going through bankruptcy, all of that stuff. I never used to like myself. So I've done a lot of inner healing, and I can honestly say I've made a lot. There's a lot of things that I wish I could take back, but I can't. I love my ex-wife. She's remarried. I love her. I just wish her happiness and love and joy and everything. So that's completed. So I've made amends and cleaned the mess up that I've made. And I'm ongoingly looking at that. So I'm trying not to cause any chaos, because I've caused a lot of chaos in my life. And I've bashed a few doors down. But that's kind of metaphorically speaking. So I've learned to be with that. And so now I've got self-love. I love myself now, which I never used to do. So self-love, I've healed myself. I love myself. I love my life. I love my life, and I love the future that I'm creating ongoingly, because I've designed it in such a way that I get to make a difference. I'm expanding and growing on a daily basis. Just the level of conversations are just uplifting. Yeah, they're kind of empowering, they're inspiring, and they're all that in that direction of upwards. So then I'm living that kind of existence. But I've caused that and created it, and it's been a journey to get there, and that's what it's all about. So I've got a lot of years of wisdom of the fight game, being a boxer, professional boxer, but then also the wisdom of going through my own personal challenges, figuring it out, finding out what works, what doesn't work for me, and then that's what I'm sharing, because I want people to have what I've got. Yeah, and I'm happier, more fulfilled, and satisfied than I've ever been ever. I'm like 10 out of 10. So I want everyone to have that, because it's available.
So it's about, I guess, so kind of deconstructing things a little bit. So from a young age, you set yourself a very clear objective of, I want to be world champ. Is that right? So you said to yourself, that's what I want to be. And that was your...
So I said that when I was a kid.
Right.
But what was driving it was, which I didn't know obviously at the time, because we all say we want things. I want to be a world champion. That's like, let's move towards that, because that's all nice and lovely. Yeah. But what's really driving it is I was trying to prove something. I was trying to prove I was good enough and I wasn't weak. I was moving away from those. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. I had a view of myself. So that drove me towards becoming a world champion.
Yeah. And so as part of that process, I guess in some way you've got to kind of build this ego and build this armory around yourself.
Yeah.
Which, and the whole time the eye's on the prize, right? So whatever you're doing is completely 100% focused. Yeah. There's not many people in the world that can maintain that discipline and that focus to the length that you did, particularly knowing the journey that you had to go on to get there. And we'll touch on that in a minute in terms of, you know, how you got there. And then to follow that, I think quite often there's actually, when people achieve, you know, these lifelong ambitions, these goals, there's a bit of a feeling of deflation in terms of, right, I've got that now, and is that all it feels like? You know, something that you've hyped up in your own mind psychologically, that you've kind of projected for such a long time.
Yeah.
But I firmly believe in the second that, whilst you're going through that, you know, the difficult phase after that, you're not looking forwards at that point in time. And when you're in that phase, it's very difficult to consider looking forwards. Yeah. But I'm a firm believer in the second that you start looking forwards and start, you know, creating that construct of what I'm going to do with my time, who am I, all of these things, then you really start to, you know, go on that journey. Because, you know, I think we all have to reinvent ourselves. And, you know, Madonna's the very famous example of, she does it, you know, every decade in terms of keeping relevant and current. But I think, we all have to go through that process, don't we? Because, you know, I was a guy who worked in the city. I was a DJ. I was this. You know, all of these. I've had all these kind of roles and, you know, identities that I kind of created for myself. Yes. And you build these things over a period of time. So first things first, it'd be really interesting just to learn a little bit more about that journey that you went on to achieve that big goal. First of all.
So it all started off as I mentioned, at 5 years of age, boxed at 8 years of age. At my first contest when I was 11. Yeah. I became a national champion when I was at 13. So that was my kind of like a realization. I'm the best in the whole country at 13. Yeah. Then so I kind of, all right. So then I kind of woke up to that. So then I pursued that more, represented my country, traveled all around the world, won different titles. So then at the age of 21, I had a great amateur boxing career, decided to turn pro at the age of 21. I felt like, let's have a go. Let's give it a go at making a living from it. Yeah. So I got a great manager. Mickey Duff was my manager. I had a great team, great cuts man, great coach, great boxing trainer. My dad was in my corner, nutrition, fitness, osteopath, fitness coach, the team. Yeah. And I had a great team. And it's without teamwork, the dream don't work. We're clear about that. So it's who's in your corner, who's got your back. That's important to know and to realize. Are they serving the purpose? Yeah. Are you all aligned in where you're going? So we was all aligned in becoming a champion. So the first stop was for me to win the British and Commonwealth titles, right, which I did at the Royal Albert Hall. That was my first championship win as a professional. An amazing evening. I'm from Luton Town in Bedfordshire in the UK, and half of Luton were there that night, and it was an incredible night. It was amazing. So that was me stepping into championship level. I was 23 years of age, and I was like invincible. I felt amazing. So then what happened was I lost the title of my first defense. I got a big cut. The referee stopped the fight. So then I had to go back to the drawing board. Great team, great management. I get a rematch. So I regained the titles again. So it's just a roller coaster. Life. It's like life. Yeah. And boxing is a great metaphor for life. It's a roller coaster, isn't it? Yeah. You win some, you lose some. It's up and it's down, and it's tough. It's tough to go through the tough times. So I regained the British and Commonwealth championships. So I'm on a pathway to becoming a world champion. So great management. I start to go up the European rankings and stuff. And then so I'm starting to get noticed in the world. So then I got a shot at the world title. That was back in the day in 1995. I was top of the bill in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. Now, at that time, at the MGM Grand was the biggest hotel in the world at that time. And I remember standing outside the MGM Grand and looking up in the air, and there was a big display unit 30 foot up in the air, and my name was flashing in lights. Billy Schwer, Luton. I thought, Luton's in Vegas. Here we go. Luton's on the map. And what a surreal experience. I remember walking down the Las Vegas Strip. Yeah, just the limousines, the bright lights. I mean, the people that were playing there, like Barry Manilow, there was like Madonna might have been on, Elton John. They like superstars. And there I am, kid from Luton. I'm mixing with them. And world title fights are not easy to win, trust me, especially in Las Vegas. I was boxing a guy called Rafael Ruelas from Mexico and Michael Buffer. Let's get ready to rumble. He was the MC. So the fight started.
Wow. Yeah.
Have you ever wanted something so bad? I was so certain I was going to win it. I pushed and pushed, had a great start, man. Bang, disaster struck. About 3 or 4 rounds in, I got a big cut over my eye. There was blood everywhere. But luckily for me, I had one of the best cuts man in the world in my corner, Denny Mancini. And he was patching me up, stopping the flow of blood. And I continued to box on. I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. About 2 rounds later, disaster struck again. I got another cut over the other eye. It's kind of ended up being like a bloodbath. Eventually, the referee, Mills Lane, come back to my corner and he says, "Kid, I'm going to give you one more round." And he looked to the damage, the blood everywhere. So what he meant to say was, you've got to go and knock him out this next round.
Right.
Otherwise, we're going to stop the fight.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, I'm thinking, shit. Have you ever felt under pressure to perform? So I had 3 more minutes. That's all I had. So I went out there, I gave it everything, but I didn't knock him out. So they stopped the fight.
Right.
My dream had been shattered. And it was like, okay, so now what? Because I still had the dream, the vision. It was like, okay, come back. I had 70 stitches, 70 stitches over both my eyes. Yeah. Wow. And I remember waiting for the plastic surgeon to come and stitch me up after the fight. I've got a broken nose, got blood all down the side of my face. My body's in agony. And I say to myself, you know what? Surely there must be easier ways I can make a living. Maybe I should think about getting a proper job. Maybe whatever that is. I've never had a proper job, but it's like, there must be other ways, but I still had the dream. So I come home from Vegas. I allow my face to heal and we get back to work. Still have the vision. Because I'd fought in Vegas, fighting for the world championships, I was highly ranked in Europe. I had a couple of fights. So then I got ranked number 1 in Europe, went over to Spain and I challenged and I won the European title in an epic contest. It was an amazing fight, voted European Contest of the Year. Amazing. So I came back home, defended the title 3 times, which gave me another shot at the world title. So it moved me up the world rankings. So there I am. I'm now ranked number 1 in the world, fighting the very best, a guy called Stevie Johnson.
Right.
Wembley Arena, Stevie Johnson, the bell goes, the fight starts. He's so quick. I just couldn't get, it was a million miles an hour. He was brilliant. First half of the fight was brutal. Got a big cut over the bridge of my nose. I got elbowed or headbutted. There was blood everywhere. But then he sorted me out and I'm boxing on. It goes 12 rounds. I go to the center ring and I wait the decision. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner is Stevie Johnson. So I'd failed again.
Oh, no.
I'd lost twice, but there's a lot of controversy after this fight because he failed the drug test. So he failed the drug test, but so there was no wonder I couldn't catch him. It was so quick. But what happened was he got off on a technicality. So he kept his world title and I went back to Luton with more stitches in my face. I was devastated. He kept the world title. And what I realized was that after that fight, you know what, to produce world-class results, you've got to be powerful in the face of adversity, setbacks, and defeat. You can't focus on the past. You have to let the past go. You got to focus on the future. Mm-hmm. Where your focus goes, energy will flow. So I had to get into the future and get back into the winning mindset, the attitude. So we did that, allowed that to pass. I get back to work and I get another shot at the world title. World title challenge number 3. Get back to work, Wembley Conference Centre, boxing a guy called Colin Dunn, a great contest. I started to build up a nice points lead in the early rounds, but then Colin fought his way back into the fight. The fight became really, really close. And the fight goes the full distance, the full 12 rounds. And then again, I go to the center of the ring and I'm awaiting the decision. It's so close. And I'm thinking, have I done enough? Did I do it? The referee grabs hold of my wrist. He tightens his grip up and I'm thinking he's going to lift my arm up in victory. Yes, this is it. ladies and gentlemen, the winner is Colin Dunn. So I'd lost again.
Oh, no.
I'd lost this time on a split decision. It was like, it was so close. It could have went either way.
Yeah.
It went Colin's way. So that was 3 times unlucky. So I have a dream. I have a dream. So we go back to the drawing board, get back to work. Great management again, working with the right people. I get another shot at the world title. So my 4th attempt, I walk into the ring again. I give it everything. I'm boxing a guy called Newton Villarreal from Colombia. Now, he doesn't speak a word of English. I speak no Spanish. So we have nothing to say. We meet each other, but we got nothing to actually verbally say. But we have a great conversation with ease. So the bell goes, the fight starts. In round number 2, I had a perfect start. Bang! I hit him with a right hand so perfectly, he goes over. I knock him on his back. He hits the canvas, and I'm thinking, this is it. I've done it. I thought, there's no way he's going to get up from that. No way. I hit him so hard. I thought, if he gets up from that, I'm going home, because there's no way he should get up from that. And he got up, didn't he? He got up, and we had a right battle for 12 rounds. And I remember going back to my corner after 11 punishing rounds, and I sit down. The fight's close. My dream team starts slapping me around the face to try to find words of wisdom for me to take out into that 12th and final round. So the bell goes for the final 3 minutes. 3 more minutes to victory, success, joy, or 3 more minutes to defeat and disappointment and upset.
Yeah.
So Sir Winston Churchill comes to mind, because Sir Winston Churchill, he once said, history will be kind to me, for I intend to write it. So I came out. That's a strong quote. I love that quote. History will be kind to me, for I intend to write it. Who's writing your history? That's the point. So I came out for that 12th and final round intending to write my history. I give it everything. It was agony. The bell goes, the fight's over, the agony ceases. Barely able to stand. I go to the center of the ring and I wait the decision. And I get to hear the words I've been waiting all my life to hear. And the winner, and the new, this is what you went to hear, the new IBO Light Welterweight Champion of the World, Billy Schwer. And it was like, wow, that was the moment we'd all been waiting for. Not only myself, but all my fans, my family. We've all been on this journey together, and it was wow. It was an accomplishment second to none. It was incredible. And that was the journey to get to the World Championships.
And then from there, it was quite short-lived, wasn't it? I think, from memory.
And that's
the belt. Wow.
This belt is a metaphor for everybody's life. What you're willing to do to become the champion of your world. What sacrifices you're willing to make, what you're willing to do to get the results that you want for yourself. So
are you willing to take 4 losses and still come back? Because it must, psychologically, it must have been bloody hard to do that.
Well, I was driven trying to prove something.
Yeah.
So it was physically hard, mentally hard, punishing, brutal. It was a real tough way of living, but I was so driven by the fact I was trying to prove something. So if you look at what has people be a success, is it moving towards something or moving away from something? They're very, very different kind of motivators.
Well, it's that question of how much do you want it? You clearly wanted it.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the wanting of something is in the future, but what's going to get us there? Yeah. So a lot of us say we want a lot of things, but lots of us don't get them.
Yeah.
So why is that? That's an interesting thing to consider and look at. So what's driving your performance, your behavior? Is it serving the end goal, the end in mind? And what if there's something missing? What is that? Maybe you don't want it bad enough, as you say. You got to want it. You got to have a burning desire.
Yeah.
To succeed, because it ain't hard. It ain't easy to succeed. It's hard in anything, in any area of life.
Yeah.
You got to have that dogged determination, that persistence, which I had.
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry, I interrupted you. So you won it. Then what?
Won it. I ended up in hospital. So winning the title, we organised a big after fight party. So on the way to the party, I start to feel rough. I start to double vision. I start to feel sick. And I was in the car, pull the car over, and I'm violently sick. So the alarm bell started to ring. So we went straight to hospital, missed the party. Everyone got really drunk without me. And I'm lying on the hospital trolley awaiting a brain scan, not knowing if any permanent damage had been done. And the jury's still out on that one. I was frightened. But they released me after 2 days. Concussion, I was okay. So went on holiday, come back home, get back to work, organized my next fight only 3 months later. I remember training for my first defense. I got punched in the head and it just didn't feel right. I thought, oh, that don't feel right. But me being me, I didn't tell anyone, kept it to myself. Fighters we're our own worst enemies, a lot of us.
Yeah.
I kept it quiet, went ahead with the fight, and we had an absolute battle. We knocked each other from pillar to post round after round. And in the 11th round, bang, got knocked out. I got knocked out. It's game over. But this time it was back to hospital. But this time I traveled in style. I went in the back of the ambulance. And it was when I was in the back of the ambulance, that's when I realized that my life as I know it was over. That's when I made the toughest decision I've ever made, to retire from boxing.
Right.
But that moment.
Sorry, how old were you then?
I was 31.
Right.
So 31 years of age, still a young man. I made another decision. I didn't know this at the time. It's only through the work that I've done, I got to the point of, I made a decision that my life is over. What's the point? So I no longer had a point. I no longer had a purpose, a future. I unconsciously made that decision. So then that's why I slipped into depression. That's where I went down that path, because I've got no future. My life is over. And it was kind of, my life was ripped away from me instantly. And I thought about making a comeback, as a lot of fighters do, but I just knew that it's dangerous. I had a friend of mine killed in the ring. I know guys that have been brain damaged. It's a brutal, beautiful business, professional boxing. Amateur boxing is different, but professional boxing is different. And it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as you say, you're putting your life on the line.
Yeah. You're putting your life on the line, and you're prepared to do that. That's a choice that we make as professional boxers. And we love it. We love we love it. But then afterwards, that's the challenge for us all. As you alluded to earlier, and the way that I say it is, I didn't have a goal beyond the goal.
Yeah.
I was so attached to the goal, to winning the world title. And then once I got it, and then it was gone. So now what?
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for that. Although I was doing business, I was in the property game, I was buying and selling, and I was doing stuff.
Yeah.
But I just know my purpose was gone, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I struggled. We hear it all the time, don't we? Lots of ex-sports people.
Yeah.
We kind of all go on a similar path. I call it's like we have a default future, as we all do. If we all carry on doing the same thing over and over again, in 3 to 5 years, it's kind of predictable where we'll be. And that's the same thing as lots of athletes. The default future is depression, breakup of marriages, relationships, bankruptcy. We hear it all the time. It's kind of mapped out for us. And I just slipped into that pathway.
Yeah.
And I ended up at the bottom. That's when I had to get out.
And in terms of how did you get out? Because that's, for people who are maybe feeling, similar, in a similar situation, what advice would you give to somebody who is, they're feeling low, they're feeling like there's no future, there's no purpose? How did you do that for yourself? And what would you recommend to somebody else who's feeling like that?
It's own it. You got to own up. You got to own it. Ownership of your life. It's once you look at yourself and go, well, I've got a part to play in it. If something's not working, because so lots of us, we focus on what we can't control. So just focus on what you can control, and you can control yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. You can control them to a degree, but you need to start to take the right steps to get a hold of that. And the first and foremost, just to acknowledge it. Go, oh, okay, look, yeah, my life's not working as I did. And then you look at yourself and go, okay, so what do I need to do then? Then you can read loads of books, listen to podcasts, go to seminars. There's lots of amazing stuff out there. Get yourself a coach, get some help, get some therapy, get whatever you need. So, but first and foremost is just acknowledging it. Once you acknowledge that your life is not working and you've got a part to play in it, because some things are in our control, some things are not. I ended up being a victim. I ended up being a victim of my life, my situation, my circumstances. I crashed. I wanted to blame. It was somebody else's fault. There's something wrong. Life's wrong. It shouldn't be this way. But it's only when I took responsibility of that, I'm fully responsible for my future. It ain't down to anyone else.
Yeah.
It's down to me. And then get to work. And then, and I've been on that journey for the last 18 years, really discovering that.
So effectively building a new identity for yourself as, something completely different. And it's, I really like that kind of juxtaposition of the really hard boxer who's putting his life on the line to, now you're talking about your feelings. That's a powerful switch.
It's a contrast, isn't it? It's a huge contrast, one which I struggled to actually be able to do.
I'm not surprised. It's the complete opposite ends of the spectrum, isn't it?
Absolutely. So what that makes available for other men, especially me being a fighter, well, if he can do that, maybe I could do that.
Yeah.
Then they're the people that I like to work with. Then you just give them an access to that, and then support and nudge it and probe it, and just there's loads of stuff to be done. Just enhance ourselves and our true selves, so then we can show up, whoever that may be.
Yeah. Okay.
Rather than our ego and identity showing up all the time.
Yeah.
So that's boring. That has us survive, but it gets boring.
Yeah. Well, it's not true, is it? It's a facade, and we've all got that.
That's it, exactly. It's a facade, and we've all got loads of different ones. It's like what facade shows up at different points of the day.
Yeah, of course. Well, we're all chameleons to some extent, and we portray ourselves in the way that we want to be perceived, given the environment that we find ourselves in. And I think, for me, I did some sports when I was a kid, and I was county champion swimmer. I'll tell you that one. But
love it.
I then got distracted by girls and drinking, so I didn't take it to the levels that you did. But I think that for me, I've also been through that kind of similar thing of you have success, and then you kind of have to re-find yourself. And for me, I was made redundant a couple of times. I lost jobs, and kind of coming back from it hurts. It hurts you. And even worse than that is I split up with some business partners a few years ago, and that hurt me. That was my identity. I was that brand. That was me. And to come back from that is it takes resilience. And
bruises your ego, doesn't it?
It hurts. It hurts. Yeah. But what I found is that, a bit like yourself, I've kind of built some structure for myself, which doesn't involve basically remove the alcohol from the equation, because it just doesn't help me. From a psychological, and also from a fitness perspective.
Yes.
And then added in some meditation, and as we talked about on the Lost tape, I do the Wim Hof method every day, which is breathing techniques and using cold showers every day.
Brilliant.
Which I think it's that moment in the day when when you hold your breath, and a bit like you mentioned earlier, you hyperventilate. So you've got basically your pH level in your body adjusts, and then it promotes the central nervous system, so that starts working. But you've got this real strong fight or flight mechanism that it's absolute primal fear. And learning to understand that and be able to deal with that, and holding your breath past that point and being able to relax into that, it's such a powerful thing, because the ego's out the window. There's nothing left. There's none of that left. And it's the same with the cold shower. I did it this morning. I went in the shower, and it was bloody freezing. You know, there's no other way to describe it. I got in there and I always put my head in first in the cold water. And again, you know, it's that thing of I could just turn that tap and get the heat on, but you've got to stand through it, and you've got to be resilient, and you've got to show,
Brilliant.
you know, and again, your ego is completely gone. So for me, it's about finding ways of pushing that to the side and actually being true to yourself. And most importantly, it's the emotional side of it, because doing all this stuff, you know, the structure that I've designed for myself, I feel fucking brilliant. You know, I feel the best I've ever felt, you know, and that's the best thing about it all. You know, it's powerful stuff.
It's amazing. And it's great that you've discovered that for yourself and giving you, it's like you're giving yourself a gift, although it don't feel like it when you're jumping in that shower and it's freezing cold.
It's horrible.
ain't very pretty. And with the breath work that you're doing, because it's exactly what you're saying. And I would really advise people to go and have a look at that stuff, because it's just the cold shower bit alone. The way you've articulated that is perfect. And it's because you're going beyond yourself. Once you start to push those barriers out a little, go beyond them a little bit, then you can do more of it, and just it more opens up. And like you say, it gives you a certain amount of resilience.
Yeah.
Because if you can do that cold shower, then you prolong how long you can stay under it. Yeah. That increases. So then everything is increasing. Yeah. Then, like you talk about the breath holding, you learn to hold your breath for longer. Then innate trying fighting for breath, that changes as well. But then, like you say, what's happening inside your body, it's kind of healing itself, repairing itself, and figuring it out, and it's in action, isn't it? It's firing up.
It's great. You know, I recommend it highly to anybody to try it if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling down. You know, it takes 5 minutes to do 30 deep breaths, you know, in and out, and then hold your breath. And there's loads of free videos on YouTube. It doesn't cost you any money. You know, just my advice to anyone would be, if you are feeling a bit like that, just do it, you know, and it's really, really helped me. That's all I can say. And that's the strongest.
I second that as well. Yeah. I'm doing it as well. So so thank you. It's worth doing, worth looking at.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so what's your kind of your routine now? Because obviously, you know, you're retired quite a long time ago, but obviously you still keep yourself in shape. What do you have a specific structure that you follow in terms of exercise and all that stuff, or how do you work it? Yeah,
ish. And I'm kind of pretty open with it. But I run. Right. I do a bit of running. So last week I ran 3 times, but no, I don't run that often. I run maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah. I lift as well. I think it's important for us middle-aged men to be lifting, resistance training. Yeah. So during lockdown, obviously with the gym shut, I got a kettlebell and some dumbbells. So I'm lifting, I'm squatting, that kind of stuff. I do that. And I'm like yourself, I'm doing the breath work. I meditate. So this morning I did 20 minutes of breath work. Right. And then I did an hour and a half meditation. Right. So that was my start of the day. And I don't do that every day, but I've done that every day this week. Right. And it really, with the meditation, I've been deep into the meditation probably for 4 years now. And it's like, I'm looking for what that gives me is like the feeling of 10 out of 10. It's an access to something else. And again, that's what I'm looking for. And the meditation, it makes me feel good. I feel smarter. The reason why I got involved in it as well is like looking for an intellectual upgrade, because that's what it does to me. It ignites something in my brain. And I think differently. I'm sharper, I'm more effective. That's what meditation gives me, because the type of meditation that I do, as well as the breath work, you're activating your brain, and that's the triggering all sorts of stuff off. So that's what meditation and breathing, that's what that does for me.
That's quite a long time to be doing that for an hour and a half, because that you're with yourself then, aren't you? There's nobody else there.
I've done it. I've done like 4 hours. I've done more, 4.5 hours. I've done this the way, and that's real management of self. So transcending self So can you imagine? I couldn't sit still for 5 minutes before, but I can sit still now. I can sit on my own, and I've done meditations where I've just sat. I do a lot of guided meditations, but I also just sit on my own and be with myself. I mean, I've sat down on my own. I've sat there and I've done a couple of hours. I've just sat there for a couple of hours. And when I looked at my clock to see how long I've been going for, it's like I've done 2.5 hours.
Wow,
Because
that's a long time.
A long time, but it's mastering self, because you obviously your brain's going everywhere, but you keep pulling back to center, come back to yourself, because that in itself is that's training. That's to be able to do that. That's something in and of itself, to be able to have the ability to sit with yourself. Most people can't sit with themselves and be quiet because they're on the go all the time. But just try it. Yeah, sit with yourself for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then build upon that, because it's like taming the beast, which is our thoughts. And that's why I created my brand. I've called it mental boxing, because it's that mental boxing match we have with that voice in the heads. It's managing that.
Okay, and so what does that entail then? So you mentioned it earlier. So you've got a kind of program that you offer to people. What does that do, and how does it work?
Yeah, so the one that I've got a new program starting in a couple of weeks. It's going to be for up to 6 guys. So it's very small, very intimate, and it's it's like a training camp for 12 weeks. So we go through, I've created a success model, which is in the book. There's a positive cycle, a negative cycle. So we go through all of that over the 12 weeks. And it's like a mental boxing training camp. So you're taking yourself on, trying new things. We meet once a week. We have a session. Then in between the rounds, in between the sessions, you got to go and do some work. Right, and have an experience. That's why I've called it the Billy Schwer experience, because you got to get the knowledge, get the learning, and then go and apply it to your life, and then have an experience with it. And that's how we develop and grow, is through having experiences. So if you think about our lives, the experiences that we've had, the good, the bad, the ugly, if we were to analyze them, there's good to be gotten from all those experiences. If you've got the right attitude, if you're not being a victim, everything that doesn't work out for yourself, you can look at it and find some value in it. If you're willing to, there's value in everything. If you can reframe it, reposition it, change the way you look at it, there's value in everything. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So that's a place to look.
Yeah. Okay. And so you built this program. Is that what you spend your time doing? Is that the kind of day job?
Yeah, that's my full-time thing.
Right. Cool.
So it's marketing. That's what I do. So I do loads of stuff around it, but that's my core business. Is I position myself as a personal performance coach.
Right. Okay. And
the performance it's very personal. What's going to have you perform is different to what's going to have me perform. It's different. So it's very personal. So my role is to guide people on their journey and support and uplift and inspire and give them an access to what it is that they want for themselves. That's the exciting bit.
And help them work towards it as well, I would imagine.
That's it all the way through, yeah. So we're together for 12 weeks. I'm in your corner for 12 weeks. It's not like you go and do a bit of work and we come back. I'm there all the way through it. So it's a support structured process that we go through and 12 weeks is a long time, and it's not a long time, but it is. If it's 3 months, it's a quarter of a year. So to make change, you can make consistent changes which are going to stay with you in 12 weeks.
Yeah, so it's long enough in the cycle to kind of build. I guess it's building a routine, isn't it? Building something that you can adhere to.
Yeah, and go back to and use and work from. Like you get structures. We've got that success model, so we can work from that and go back to that and see where we're at and work things through and work it forward.
Okay, and in terms of who this would be appropriate for, what's your kind of target market?
Yeah, but the kind of men who are 40 plus.
Right.
A lot of the guys I work with, they're kind of business owners, entrepreneurs, those kind of guys. They want a bit more from life, and they know that they can be more as well. Yeah. But they're willing to do something to get more. They're the guys that I work with. It's not therapy. It's not counseling. It's not that. Although that gets we look at that a little bit, but it ain't about that. We don't focus there. It's future-based creative thinking, language. It's that. Then putting things in existence and following through and supporting that. That's it makes all sorts of things available.
Okay, and is the plan to run more of those going forward? What's your goals now?
So they're going to be running. I want to be running 2 or 3 of them at the same time. So they'll be looping around. I do speaking as well. I do conference speaking. I do, which is slightly different now, obviously, with the way things are. But when that comes back, I speak at big conferences. I got a program that I work with teams. I do like a boardroom style training. I go in-house and do sessions with teams, individuals for the corporate. And then I'll do this private stuff as well. I do one-to-one coaching. There's companies that I work with, the leaders of the companies, the owners of the companies. I work with them personally. I do that stuff, and I do this group stuff as well. So that's my focus, and that's what I've created. That's what I'm living. Love it. I love it.
Awesome. So you basically built yourself, as I say, lifestyle by design. You're doing what you enjoy and giving back as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's like you said, lifestyle, life by design. Yes. Design it, create it, believe it, think it, cause it, be it.
I think it's really important. But yeah. And in terms of where our listeners and viewers can find you, I know you're on LinkedIn, so you're there.
So, yeah, most of my people are on LinkedIn. But I'm on the other platform as well. So you'll find me. Come and find me. I've got a website, billyschwer.com. If you go to there, you can get the first 2 chapters of my book for free. Then you can get a signed copy of my book there if you wanted to go there. We'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, I'm easy to find.
Cool. Well, any closing remarks from you? It's been really interesting.
Win or lose, you choose. I want to leave you with that. Step number 1 of the 7-step winning formula: choose. Powerfully choose your life on a daily basis. Choose who you're going to be, who's going to show up. Let's not be a victim. Let's be the cause of our lives, not at the effect of it. Let's make it happen. Commit to your dreams, take inspired action and make it happen. And it's inspired actions that are going to make it happen.
Awesome. Inspiring words. Well, thank you, Billy. Thanks for your time.
Great to see you, Matt. Thank you for your time. And thank you for you also. And thank you for the contribution that you are for us all. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Growth Show with Matt Lenzie. Please like our podcast and subscribe today.